So what we're going to talk about today is really looking at the problem of helping people to acquire competencies that they can use on the job. This is what employers are looking for, and when we talk about skill gaps in the workforce, what we're talking about really is people who they may have the knowledge of a subject area. They need to have skills, but they don't have the ability to apply those skills in a work context in order to improve performance on the job. And that's really what's important in a work context. So what we're going to be looking at here is how AI can support a competency-based approach to learning. Now, there are a range of different skills, of course, that are important in the workplace. There are hard skills such as programming, software engineering. There are also soft skills such as communication, collaboration, problem solving. And now from platforms such as LinkedIn that has data from employees as well as from employers with open jobs, we have data now that shows us where the biggest skill gaps are. And it turns out that the biggest skill gaps in the U.S. economy are in communication skills within the soft skills category. So even though you see a lot of demand for people with programming skills, the reality is that there's 3 times as much of demand for people with good communication skills. And we can see why that's the case, which is that automation can eliminate a lot of routine jobs, but the jobs that involve working with people are going to persist, and those skills are going to be in greater demand over time. So if anything, we see the global economy shifting toward work that puts more premium on soft skills. And when we talk about soft skills, here are the top 5, and we're going to focus here primarily on communication skills. That's what LinkedIn focused on in their study. But really, communication skills are foundational to other skills that workers need to be effective, to be able to work in a team, to be able to be effective as a leader. Good communication skills contribute to this. If we look at statistics in terms of the skills that companies demand from business school hires in particular, we see communication skills at the top of the list, and then other skills that where communication is significant, such as teamwork and leadership, as close behind. And then technical and managerial skills are all in the middle to the bottom level. So that doesn't mean that they're unimportant, but these are areas where it would appear that the existing education and training resources are doing a poor job of preparing people with the necessary skills. Here are some statistics from different business functions of the relative importance of soft skills and hard skills. And as you would imagine, customer service and human resources put a premium on soft skills, as does sales and marketing. But we would expect going forward, for the reasons that I cited, that actually across the board here in the future, we will see the importance of soft skills increasing in these different sectors. And the overall effect of this trend, it is one aspect of a broader problem that we're seeing of a global shortage of skilled workers, of employers having difficulty filling jobs. So now let's ask the question, well, why is that? Why is it that conventional methods are not doing a good enough job, particularly in the soft skills area? And the problem is that available methods for teaching these skills cannot provide effective training to enough learners in an economically feasible manner. So basically the best way to develop soft skills is to practice them with a coach who can provide you with good feedback one-on-one. And that's great. And some people have access to that kind of coaching. Most people do not. It's just too expensive to provide that kind of one-on-one training. So instead, what you see is reliance on classroom instruction, which is helpful, but is typically insufficient because it doesn't give people enough opportunity to practice in a classroom setting. Self-paced e-learning also can be beneficial, but again, it doesn't provide enough opportunity in general to practice these skills and really hone and master them. So, and then moreover, you can learn about soft skills by watching a video or watching a PowerPoint presentation, but then it is difficult to transfer that learning to the real world situation. So in other words, it falls short in terms of developing competencies. So then this raises the question, can artificial intelligence help solve this problem? Can it play a role in creating learning systems, e-learning, that is effective in learning soft skills, in learning these competencies, and can do it in an economical fashion? So we're starting to see some AI-based tools that are moving in this direction. So here are a couple of products that are used quite broadly in the military right now. So on the left is the Elite. It's a leadership training environment developed by USC and is used widely across the military. And this is where junior officers learn how to coach and advise the people in their unit by actually practicing their coaching skills with a virtual soldier or sailor. On the right, example from one of our virtual cultural awareness trainers, or VCATs. So here people learn how to conduct themselves in a cross-cultural situation, let's say to meet with a foreign counterpart, by role-playing different types of scenarios and then practicing the skills that one needs in order to be able to be effective in those scenarios. So these products are well received. However, I contend that they really only address one aspect of what's needed for a full and powerful solution for addressing soft skills. What's really needed, I believe, is something that can address the problem more systemically, that can provide sort of a combination of key capabilities. And here are the ones which I regard to be essential. So first of all, immersive practice environments where you can practice using these skills in realistic settings that can be used as formative assessments to provide learners with feedback as to where they're doing well, where they need to improve, and that can provide personalized learning that focuses on those areas where the learners need to improve. And then last but not least, performance analytics about the learner's performance, which can be provided to learners, to teachers, and to administrators. This then makes it possible for an AI-based education or training system to play an effective role within a blended training or educational solution. So basically, it's working with teachers to make the learning experience as effective as possible. Here are some of the other characteristics that we see as desirable in these types of learning systems. So adaptation is very important. The system should be able to adapt to learners and to their performance. It should be contextualized to provide lifelike scenarios in which to practice. It's important for the practice to be unscripted. So this is one thing that AI makes possible. It's been very difficult in the past, which is more open-ended simulations where learners are free to say, do what they want rather than select from multiple choice items. The basic limitation of multiple choice technology is you're presenting a learner with pre-authored choices, and that kind of gives away the answer in many cases. And moreover, in real life, learners aren't going to have those choices to choose from. They're going to have to decide on their own what to say and do. So if we can provide them with an immersive simulation where they have that experience as they're learning, then it's going to be easier for them to transfer those skills to the real world. Also, this type of technology is very useful for promoting what are known as perspective-taking skills, to understand what the perspective is of the other person that you can interact with. And this is often lacking in practice in the real world. You may be practicing your skills, but you don't really have a good sense of how the other person is responding to what you say. When we put it in a computer simulation, then actually the software can probe the learner to make sure that they understand how somebody is reacting to what they're saying. We can even offer the opportunity for the learners to play the other side, play a different role. So if we're training skills for practicing talking with your direct reports, well, why don't you play the role of the direct report and see what it's like to have a boss give you feedback commentary. So we find this to be very, very powerful. And this type of technology is engaging and fits well with gamification. So it's a relatively small step from the type of immersive simulations that I'm going to be talking about more today, and immersive games. And in fact, one can imagine integrating these types of role play immersive simulations within a game context as well. What's happening now, which I think is very interesting, is we're seeing AI being combined with large amounts of learner data. So as AI is moving into the cloud, as learners are using cloud-based systems, they're able to collect lots of examples of what learners do, what learners say, and this really is accelerating the process of innovation, and actually is accelerating development of AI-based systems, moving to a more data-driven approach. And I'll be talking about this more in a future webinar. But you can think of it as AI provides the spark, but it's the data that provides the fuel that makes this real explosive development of AI-enhanced learning possible. And how it does it is it enables a cycle of analysis of learner data, of defining hypotheses of how learners are going to respond to different learning systems, and then to drive improvements based upon analysis of the data. And that type, and once the data is available, it can also, as I said, be used to provide analytics to instructors so they can adapt their teaching methods as well. So the presence of data and the accessibility of data is making a big difference. And I think will continue to make a difference going forward. So to give you an example, I'll use an example from a platform that we've developed at Alelo that illustrates a number of these characteristics and is focused on communication skills. So Nskill is a cloud-based immersive learning platform where learners can practice in immersive simulations with artificially intelligent virtual role players, we call them. And in the process, it's automatically assessing learners and recommending personalized instruction. We are using the learner data to continuously improve performance, to up the system models rapidly. It's designed to support an ecosystem of publishers and content developers, and so that it's a part of a wider range of learning systems. And it's already used in 24 countries and growing. So we're getting more and more data from learners around the world, which is only accelerating the innovation process. Here I'll show you just a quick little video that illustrates how the system works and the role of data in this process.
Part of what makes it very easy for people to access is that it just runs in any web browser on any device that basically supports a microphone. A student in Peru, if they want to learn English, they pull up their laptop or their tablet, they bring up a web browser, they connect to the Nskill Sim server, and then up comes a role-play simulation, a character on their screen, and then they can just start talking with that character and it will respond to them.
What do you do for fun?
I spend a lot of time playing sports.
Where do you play soccer?
Sometimes I go to Super Sports 7 over on Center Street.
As learners are interacting with Nskill, it's constantly collecting data of what responses the learners are given. And so we use that data to continuously retrain and improve the AI. It's really been a game changer, this ability to collect data and then use it to improve the performance of the platform.
The conference has been unmuted.
Hi, just checking. I was getting a lot of noise in the background. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So I'll put back on mute, and then we will continue.
The conference has been muted.
So what we see possible in Nskill, and I think makes a big difference, is that we can design learning experiences with the end goal in mind. So we think about what are the competencies that we want people to learn. Then we can design simulations that require learners to apply those competencies. And then we encourage learners to get in and try them. So it provides the learners with a safe environment where they can try things, and it's not a big deal if they make mistakes. It gets them comfortable with actually applying the competency. Then the learners get personalized practice. So basically, at the end of the simulation, they get a review of what they did well, where they need to improve, and then they get a set of personalized exercises that focus on just the areas where they need to improve. And then when they're ready, they can try simulation again and see if they can then demonstrate mastery of the competency. And for us, mastery means not just do they get, if you will, the answers right, can they do the right things, but can they do it in a rapid, fluid fashion like they would need to do in real life. So this touches on something which I think is very important and really, I think, can make a big difference to the training of soft skills, is that the software can objectively measure learner performance and therefore measure performance improvement. So this is a big change over the way these skills have been taught in the past that relies heavily on subjective assessments by coaches. So this makes the skill levels, the competencies, much more explicit, and then makes it more amenable to improvement, both by software as well as by instructors. We have designed N-Skill to be part of a broader ecosystem, and I see this as a trend that's going to potentially affect the entire industry. So I'll explain here as I go through. So N-Skill runs off of our cloud-based servers, the N-Skill Sim server, which is delivering content to a user interface on a range of different devices. But behind the scenes, it invokes various cloud-based cognitive services. And recently, Google, Microsoft, IBM have been developing these cognitive services and have been making them available for developers. And we take advantage of that too. But I think key difference is that those cognitive services, there are things like speech recognition, natural language processing, pattern recognition. They are general AI tools. It then remains the job of developers such as ourselves to actually integrate those into products that support learning. So for example, it's not enough to be able to, although there's technology for creating chatbots, for example, it's not enough just to create a chatbot. What you want is a system that can both engage in a conversation, a chat with you, but also give you feedback as to how well you did. And so that's what new emerging AI technologies like N-Skill are doing to leverage these general cognitive services. Then on the other side, there's integration with external learning management systems as well as with other digital learning products. So there are other digital learning tools that are out there now. Publishers are increasingly moving resources online, but like what publishers often provide is really a digital version of a textbook. There's still a need for interactive learning materials which can complement the static stuff that you get in the textbook. And so products like N-Skill can serve that role. And then finally, an important aspect is providing developers, providing people with tools so they can build their own content for the platform. This is going to be critical for increasing adoption of the technology, and it's going to make it possible to apply this general approach to a wide range of soft skills. So, for example, people have come to us with interest in using this technology for sales training, for training for healthcare professionals, And there's no question that communication skills are essential there. But ultimately, I think those products can best be provided by people who are experts in sales training, experts in provision of health care, who can then utilize this technology to provide more effective learning experience. So if this is successful, it can be applied to a range of soft skills, and we at Alelo already have quite a bit of experience. We have developed learning systems for healthcare, sales communication, for workplace communication skills, developed a prototype for sexual harassment bystander intervention. And so what we're looking now is migrating these types of solutions to a platform like N-Skill so that it can be made available more broadly and that can leverage these other capabilities. And so I think we're going to see more of these types of applications becoming available as people become aware of the potential of this technology to address these critical problems in gaps in soft skills. So people sometimes ask me, well, what are some examples of results that have been obtained using this technology? And let me just cite a few examples, some from the work that we at Alelo have done for military education and training, and then some of the studies that are going on up to the present. So, the very first learning product that Alelo released was a game called Tactical Iraqi that incorporated speech and language technology. So you had to speak Arabic in order to play the game. We created, if you will, a virtual Iraq, where you as a player would go through missions, you would meet with the local leaders, you would plan a reconstruction project. And this turned out to be very effective. In fact, the first battalion of Marines to complete a tour of duty without any fatalities in Iraq trained with Tactical Iraqi before they deployed. And the Marine Corps studied this. They saw very interesting findings. First of all, they saw that the Marines, when they arrived in Iraq, they were much better prepared to interact with the local people. And the people there felt that these Marines had better appreciation for their language and culture than any other group of Marines that they had ever encountered. So it proved to be highly successful. I mentioned VCAT, and we now have VCAT courses available for 93 countries and counting. So it's proven itself again and again. And the evaluations that we have done have shown that learners with just a small amount of training, like a few hours with a VCAT cultural awareness trainer, that once they get overseas, and that could be months later, that the trainees feel that the training benefited them, and the people that they work for, their supervisors, feel that it benefited from them, as it benefited as well. So this gets at what, if you will, is sort of the real ideal of effectiveness in training, which is to make a difference on the job. And we continue to do evaluations. In fact, consistent with our data-driven approach, we are constantly analyzing, asking hypotheses about what's going on with our learners and our products and how to make them better. But I will report a trial that we just completed with students at the University of Novi Sad in Serbia. And this is a very interesting test case. So here, at this college, this program is on English for information technology purposes. So these are people who are training to become software engineers, but they need good communication skills in English in order to be able to do it. So we gave them some simulations, and these were basic level simulations. They were not focused on IT scenarios specifically, but the students reported afterwards that the majority of them felt that this technology, this approach, helped them to improve their spoken English skills. And even if they were ostensibly advanced learners of English, they benefited from having the opportunity to practice with simulated native speakers. So this is an indication, we think, of the broad applicability of this technology and how it can ultimately set the stage for helping lifelong learners maintain their skills over time. The way we design this is such that people can always go back and practice these simulations in order to hone their skills. So that's the conclusion of my slides. If you'd like to learn more, welcome to encourage you to contact me, and I'm happy to answer your questions. This is the first in these webinar series, and we're still developing our plan for future webinars. So there are particular topics that you would like us to go into in further detail, let us know, and we'll work to incorporate them. So, so I hope that you will find this useful on an ongoing basis. So now I'm going to take off mute, and what I'd say is raise your hand, and I can call on you with any questions that you might have.
The conference has been unmuted.
And you can also write text questions into the Q&A slot, and as those come forward, I will respond to them. So, any questions? All right, no questions so far, but while you're thinking about that, I'm going to actually put my colleague Karen Chang on the spot. She's going to be working with me for the next webinar we're going to put together. Any further comments that you would like to make, Karen? You know, leading up to our upcoming webinar.
Thank you, Louis. I think one thing that would be interesting for those of you who are listening is to think about the situations that you may be working in or have worked in, and how would something like AI apply to where you are. So whether you're a teacher or you're a trainer in a corporate program, or whether you're just responsible for improving overall soft skills with a group of people, how would that apply to what you're doing? I think what we're finding is that since this application of AI into education is still relatively new, it's not often immediately obvious as to how this would apply. So I think it's good to reflect on this. Thanks, Louis.
I agree with that, and along a similar vein, you know, I mentioned the potential of this technology to provide analytics to teachers, to stakeholders. So, you know, think about what you would like those analytics to provide, and so following up on that a little bit. You know, this technology provides a way of providing analytics of what's going on with your students now, as opposed to what happened to the students in, you know, what was their score in their final exam. So this technology provides more of immediate assessments of learner performance and progress, And I think that can have a big impact on instruction. But we'd really like to hear from people who are instructors who can think about how that might, how they could put that to work. Any other questions that come to mind? Well, good. Well, if there are no more questions, we are recording this.
Yeah,
session.
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead. That's Richard.
Yeah,
Hoffman.
I'm part of the
ahead.
team. I'm part of the Alelo team. Been part of it for a while. So, I mean, we have an audience. Thank you for attending. I have a question. If anyone cares to share, if any of you folks listening in have any personal experience, professional, personal, any form of exposure to the topic at hand today, which is the role of AI in training and education. It's clearly it's an emerging field. There's a lot to discover. The experience track record is short, despite being meaningful already. So maybe if anyone cares to share your personal role, involvement, interest, contributions, whatever, in this topic that we've presented today.
That would be great. And I see Lee Bailey raising his hand. Go ahead, Lee.
By the way, is this the Lee Bailey I've known forever and a day?
You're the very one, yes.
Hi, Lee. I haven't seen you in ages. I'm glad to see you're kicking around still. Anyway, I'm going on mute again.
So my question is, I'm actually working with a university that is attempting to integrate AI into a part of the curriculum, so as they can provide better training experience for students, as well as preparing them for eventual jobs which require working in AI. So I'd like to, and many faculty find this a little bit intimidating and daunting, so I'd like to hear on future webinars modules that could be adapted into a university setting for faculty to incorporate it in their course offerings.
I like that suggestion, Lee, and yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, and I think that would be helpful in terms of getting the word out, if you will, and yeah, there's a big need for it, and people don't necessarily know where to begin. So I think we can provide some webinar resources.
Your first few slides were good because you took away the stigma that you're replacing the faculty member or the teacher from the equation, but then you need to take it to the next step. So what are the concrete steps that a faculty member or a department can do to incorporate? Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, good. We will be happy to go into that in further detail, and I think the answer to that is, as you say, it's only part of it is providing the technology. Part of it is to provide, if you will, the implementation tools for instructors of how to make effective use of this. This is something that we see a lot. In fact, we're one of our big customers around the world, Laureate Education. They're very interested in the technology, but the real question, they need to educate their instructors of how to integrate AI into their curricula. So that's becoming a key focus. So I'm thinking, Karen, you and I will work on this and really sort of come up with some examples and provide an overall view of this. But I think the Laureate model would be a good case study that we could delve into. And that, by the way, those are higher ed institutions, so I think that's quite relevant to what you're talking about, Lee. Any other comments? Okay, so I think that will be it for now then. We will post this recording up on our website in the next few days, and keep an eye out. We are in the process of of getting more speakers signed up for this series. Both people that have experience in education and experience in technology. And so I think it's going to be very, very useful, and hope you'll continue to take part. So thank you all, and hope to talk with you again at a future webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.